this is Alternate Perspective, a show that shines a light on all things alternative or community-driven. We provide a platform for different perspectives. I am your host, Susanna Vett, and today we're with Rick Wayman, who is the Director of Programs of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to know, how did the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation begin?
Well, we were founded here in Santa Barbara in 1982.
Wow.
So we just celebrated our 35th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We had hoped that we would be out of business by now, that we would have solved this problem of nuclear weapons. But here we are in 2018, we're still working on it. But the organization was founded here in this small, tight-knit community by 4 regular members of society who knew each other, and they all had a feeling that we needed to urgently do something about the threat of nuclear weapons.
Okay.
And our organization's name might sound a little strange at first, and sometimes people get the order of the words mixed up. So Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, and the idea behind that is that in the nuclear age, the time that we're living in right now where nuclear weapons exist, peace is an imperative. And what that means is any war, any armed conflict could turn into a nuclear war as long as nuclear weapons exist. So we exist to abolish nuclear weapons. We want to see them out of this world, completely abolished before they abolish us. That's our mission, and that's what we're here to do. 35 years later, we're still working hard as ever.
Okay. What are the goals, specific goals, other than, like, I know abolishing nuclear weapons, but like, what are the tiny goals that lead to that you guys do?
Sure. Well, there are a number of steps that need to happen along the way to that. No one is under the impression that tomorrow we're going to wake up and all 9 leaders of the nuclear armed countries are going to get together and hold hands and be done with this. That's not how it works. There's a lot of work that needs to go into this. A lot of that is at the United Nations level.
Okay.
Regular old diplomacy. And that's an important part of it. And we're on the ground in New York and Geneva at the appropriate times to try to push that process along. Some of the other goals that we have are, one, and this is actually another part of our mission statement, is to empower peace leaders. So we want to give regular people like you, people like me, the tools, the skills, and the knowledge to make a difference in the world. Oh, wow. People who care about peace, we need training. We need to learn how to do this stuff. No army is going to send their soldiers into war without extensive training. Yeah. And if we are going to be working for peace, and if we're going to be successful in achieving peace, we need training as well. So that's another thing that we're really focused on, and that goes for people like my daughter, who's in 3rd grade here at a local school, older students in junior high, high school. We do a lot of work in universities, and also just in community groups and religious groups, Rotary International groups around the country. We have members of our staff who will go out and speak with them, do workshops, and really try to lay a strong foundation to make positive change, not only on nuclear disarmament, but all kinds of aspects of peace, from the absence of war, but also peace in your own life, in your interpersonal relationships, and in your smaller communities.
I like that. I'm interested now.
Great.
So what are some notable accomplishments that the foundation has made?
Well, last year was an incredible year for us. It was quite difficult in some senses because the threat of nuclear war was very high. It continues to be high right now. But that was at the top of a lot of people's minds. The overt threats from Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump, for example. A lot of people felt very scared, but behind the scenes, to some extent, we were working very hard at the United Nations, and we took part in the negotiations for a new treaty at the UN called the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. And that treaty was adopted in July at the UN. 122 nations voted in favor of adopting this treaty. And right now, countries are in the process of signing and ratifying that treaty. So we're hopeful that within a year or two, that will enter into effect.
Okay.
So that's really exciting.
Yeah, that sounds pretty incredible.
That prohibits the possession, the development, the use, the threat of use of nuclear weapons.
Wow.
And right now, not all countries are on board with it, but it's setting an example, it's setting an international legal norm, and it's increasing the taboo. So the countries that do have nuclear weapons, they're going to have more and more trouble rationalizing that, explaining that away to the others, to the other countries of the world that want to live in true security and not with the threat of civilization being wiped out.
Okay. Are there currently new projects going on in the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation to add to that accomplishment that you guys did, or just furthermore the goals of that?
Well, we are trying to build on that right now. There have been 4 or 5 countries at the moment that have gone through the whole ratification process and have inserted their instrument of ratification at the UN, and that's sort of the official way that countries indicate that they're bound by the treaty. So we still have 45 more countries to go until we can get this treaty entered into effect. It's early days.
Yeah.
No treaty goes quickly.
That's
Everything
true.
at the UN moves at kind of a slow pace, and every country has their own ratification process. But what we're doing right now, so we have 80,000 members that are a part of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. A lot of them are in the US, but maybe a quarter of our members are outside of the US.
Okay.
And so we're working really hard with them right now to get their governments to sign and ratify this treaty. And there are other organizations like ours around the world that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're confident that we're going to get there. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're putting the work in, we're dedicated to it, and we're going to make sure that it happens. The US has been very unfriendly toward this treaty. The current administration said that we will never sign it. And,
Wow.
you know, I take that to mean that they, when they are in power, will never sign it. But it's never too early to lay the groundwork for a future administration to
do
hopefully
it. Yeah.
sign it, ratify it, and be bound by its terms. So we're playing a little bit of a longer game here in the U.S.,
All
but
right.
we are working with our international members and our international partner organizations to make this happen quickly on the international scale.
Okay, and speaking of difficulties that you've mentioned, has there been other difficulties other than the administration that we have currently, other roadblocks?
You know, a huge difficulty, a huge problem that we face is public apathy. A lot of people don't realize that there are still 15,000 nuclear weapons in the world. They don't realize that the US and Russia maintain over 1,000 weapons each on hair trigger alert that can be fired within a moment's notice. Once they're fired, they can't be recalled. So if they're fired due to an accident or a miscalculation or a misreading of a radar or because someone sent out a mean tweet, you know, these things, it's a really, really serious problem. And it's incumbent upon us as citizens of the US, a major nuclear armed country, the only country to have ever used nuclear weapons against people in war. But it's also incumbent upon all of us as global citizens to be aware of the problem and to do something about it. We don't have to do something in depth. You don't have to be like me and work on it 50 hours a week. You know,
Okay.
being
Wow.
aware of it is the first
Step.
and it's a very important step.
Okay.
We can look at our elected officials. How are they voting on these issues? Are they funding new nuclear weapons, or are they speaking out against them? These are things that we can think about. We're coming up to the midterm elections. Maybe that's something that people can keep in mind among all the other important issues that they're concerned about.
Okay. Now that we're talking about people getting involved, like locally and even internationally, I would say, how can people get involved?
Well, here locally in Santa Barbara, we hold a few events every year, maybe one every few weeks. I think last year we had 12 or 13 events in total throughout the year here in Santa Barbara. We've got one coming up on March 7th, which is going to be really fantastic. We're bringing in a woman named Christine Ahn, who's a policy expert and academic on Korea, on the crisis in North Korea, South Korea, the Korean War. And she's actually the founder of a wonderful organization called Women Cross DMZ. DMZ is the demilitarized zone that separates North and South Korea. And a couple years ago, she organized a contingent of women peace workers from around the world to travel to North Korea to meet with people and government officials in North Korea, and then walk across the demilitarized zone, which is a heavily militarized area. A lot of tension there, and cross into South Korea and do the same thing there. Speak with citizens, speak with members of the government. And so anyway, she's coming here to Santa Barbara, which is an amazing opportunity for our community to hear from someone who's doing something quite radical and really amazing and really needed. So she'll be here. The title of her talk is Crisis and Opportunity in North Korea. So her focus is on preventing war, preventing the war from happening, and it'll be a really interesting talk. It's downtown at the Carpeles Manuscript Library on Anapamu Street, but that's on our website, wagingpeace.org. People can find out more about it there. It's a free event.
Okay.
Almost all of our events that we hold here in Santa Barbara are free and open to the public.
All right, that sounds pretty neat, actually. I find that pretty interesting, but she was doing pretty frightening. Also, do you know about the local, it's an organization that started through SBCC called 2020.
The year without war. Yes.
Like, are you guys working together, helping them out, or?
Yeah, we talk from time to time. I mean, we've all got our hands full with our projects that we're working on. But yeah, we do collaborate from time to time, and we hear about what each group has going on, and we try to cross promote where we can and help out whenever possible.
Okay, like no, because I know I was part of that at some point. 2020.
Yeah.
But then I transitioned to all of this. So has there been other local groups that you guys collaborated other than the 2020?
Well, a little bit here and there, but most of the work that we do is based around national or international policy. So a lot of the groups that are working on the same things as us are based in Washington, D.C. or New York or Geneva and those kind of places. So unfortunately, just the way that we're structured, we haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to collaborate with other local organizations, but we're always up for it. And I would let anyone watching,
help out,
has an idea on how we can collaborate. We're definitely open to it. Give me a call.
Also, like in international relations, like how do you guys go about it? Do you guys have like specific ambassadors that go through the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, or do you guys individually go? What goes on? How's that set up?
I spend a lot of time at the UN. I spend a couple weeks a year at the UN, and that is a really amazing experience. Just talking to ambassadors and other high-level diplomats. But we do have a very robust internship program. And we have interns come from all around the country, sometimes from other countries as well, to work with us here in Santa Barbara and gain a lot of very practical experience in working for peace. And sometimes they will be able to come with me.
Oh.
Depends on the timing. Sometimes they'll come with me to the UN. Sometimes they'll come with me to do lobbying in Congress and in Washington, D.C., meet with members of Congress and the administration to talk about these issues. So, it's one way that we really try, again, to go back to our mission of empowering peace leaders. We want to give our interns a real life examples of what it is to do this work.
Okay.
And also to show them that anyone can do it. You don't have to have extensive training in order to speak to these issues.
Okay.
Nuclear weapons in particular, there's a whole scientific and physics side to it, but when it comes down to it, for me, it's a moral issue and it's a humanitarian issue. And we're all human beings. We can all talk about humanitarian issues.
Yes.
So that's something that I want to always let our interns know, is that they can make a difference. And it's not as intimidating as it sounds to talk to these people that you see on TV and are making decisions on all of our behalf. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. It sounds like a wonderful program and wonderful foundation, and the internship sounds like a wonderful program and opportunity for people. But I am going to segue into the entertainment.
All right.
So
thanks for having me. Hope to see you again.
I loved having you.
All right.
All right, so we saw the belly dancer from the summer solstice. As you can see, the summer solstice is quite the event in Santa Barbara. So please go to the summer solstice this year, which I'm pretty sure will have spectacular performances and performers and entertaining art. Also stay tuned to the episode where we get different perspectives and activism or spirituality. Just stay tuned for our next guest. Thank you.